Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? A gracious good morning to you, good people. It's your girl KB. You know what I do, and you know why I do it. It's Monday morning. It's March 3rd, and it is 3:38 in the a.m. I'm gonna keep it simple this morning. I'm only gonna put out 2 videos today. I never seem to get enough sleep. I get in my office and then I get tired. But it's a new month, and I've got new requirements, so I'm gonna try to stay on top of everything. Maybe I'll catch a cat nap at lunchtime. Anywho, let me just get into what I was going to talk about. Now, you've heard me say over a period of time, I'm going to get back to what I signed on here for, and this is definitely a commitment for this month. Uh, I've raged for a hot second, and I'm sure something will set me off again. But, I want to talk about how I identify. And no, I'm not talking about pronouns. I'm talking about the people I identify with in Scripture. Now, you've heard me say I identify heavily with Peter because of my hair trigger temper. You've heard me say I identify with David because at best he's emotionally labile. It's like one minute he's praising and dancing, and the other minute he's, woe is me. And we all fluctuate between, different aspects of traits. But again, Peter is my go-to. I have to catch myself from really going there with people. I should get a tattoo, WWJD, what would Jesus do? Because, again, I have to catch myself. Sometimes my brakes work, sometimes they don't. But as I was reading this morning, and as I was talking about, some of the things that we embrace that are in no way, shape, or form scriptural, but we call it that. As I was talking about, compartmentalizing, I hope I never learn that skill when it comes to God. I hope I'm always out there with it so we can have conversations, not filtering my words or creating this dishonest and disingenuous connection with people. If you hear me say, I need to say this, I really need for you to pay attention because it's something that, is going on that I see or that I've heard or picked up on, and we need to talk about. If not, stuff happens. So I need to say this. As I identify with Peter, I had to look at the other characteristics of Peter, the other traits of Peter. And knowing that there were 5 major sins that Peter was guilty of. And, seeing if I identify there as well. The first one was little faith, doubt, or wavering faith. And that's in Matthew 14, 28 through 31, where, there was the walking on water. The second, and I think this is the most egregious of them all. Well, maybe not. Let me pause that. But it's up there. All these are pretty egregious. I didn't get too bent out of shape about the fluctuating faith because we all do it. Doesn't make it right, but we all do it. we'll pray, 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 pray. It's like, okay, pray without ceasing doesn't mean repetitive prayer. When you pray, you walk away calling that thing done and accomplished. Okay, so the second sin was this failure to see the need for the cross. And that can be seen in Matthew 16, 21 through 23. The third, him running when Popo showed up. And that's in Mark and Matthew. Mark 14:50 and Matthew 26:56. So we got little faith, failure to see the necessity of the cross, taken off, and the denial of Jesus, and that was 3 times, and that's in Mark 14, I believe, and it's toward the end of the chapter. And I want to focus on, I think I only named 3. 1, 2, no, 4. But the thing that really got me was the denial. And because, I see that denial as a betrayal. And I'm thinking, in that betrayal, how that must have made Jesus feel. And then how Peter felt after Jesus was crucified. It's not like Jesus didn't know Peter was going to betray him. He told him. And by telling him, I believe, that was Jesus's way of letting him know, Peter, I see your character, and it lacks integrity. Think about that. Has anyone ever told you that? Or have you ever had to tell anyone that? I see your character and it lacks integrity. All the while, this person is demanding truth of you or truth from you. I can relate to that heavily, And in that, this particular individual was demanding truth. I had no reason to question their integrity because they were so adamant about truth. But then I started watching movement. And the only thing that they were true to was themselves. In one particular instance, it's like, I asked this person, they were upset about something. And I said, well, what does that have to do with you? And they gave a plausible excuse, but it still didn't explain how that is impacting them personally. And what it revealed to me was this level of competition and jealousy. You know, didn't say anything. First red flag. Then I listened. I really listened. That gave me cause for pause. And I listened. And the individual was talking about self-care, but what they considered self-care made no sense, because how they define self-care, I want to say, was hedonistic on some levels and showed a disconnect from self-worth on the other levels. So it got to the point where I had to speak on certain aspects because they didn't see it. And then I was several kinds of villains and several kinds of distrust. See, when you're dealing with somebody who doesn't have any kind of self-awareness, but at the same time is self-serving and self-seeking, and that is their primary function, you take them out of how they see themselves. It's kind of like, the cycle of domestic violence. Whenever you reveal something, it's like, I have to get back to this image, so I'm going to have to muddy the waters in order to regain this image. And I'm sure, in Peter's denial, because, he broke Jesus' heart, even though Jesus knew he broke his heart. And because of that, Peter learned what it meant to be broken, and he became that much better in his ministry because he fully understood the brokenness of people and how people are broken based on his own actions. That part. So I want you to think about how you're moving. Words are one thing, actions support or undermine what you're telling people. How are you moving?